I'll start. I've taken the class in here, the community class, several times in the evening. And Stuart was just up in Muncie, Indiana last week in my hometown. And we're trying to bring this program to Ball State University. And the professors wanted to take a look at it in action. So that's what we're filming it for today.
His name's Mike Martin, just to let you know.
Yes.
Let's give Mike a warm welcome.
Hi, my name is Vishal Patel. I've also taken the community class a couple of times. Really appreciate the way that Stuart approaches business and community, and so I'm a 100% follower.
Okay, let's give Vishal a big hand.
He's a judge on demo day.
So he's a judge on demo day.
No, no stress.
No stress.
It's really short memory.
So what we are planning to do today is we're going to get through 6 presentations. We're going to start off with Safe Roam as our very first presentation for today.
Everyone take 1 second to look at yourselves. Do you realize that it is more than likely in your lifetime that you will have some sort of disability? 7 million people visit Charleston every year. Try and put yourself in the shoes of someone with sensory issues coming to a new city for the first time. Loud environments, bright lights, and intense smells on top of the already unfamiliar environment can be very stressful and lead to a stage of fight or flight.
So up here on the left, we have Nicole's cousin Drake. Drake has autism and reacts poorly in loud environments. Here in the middle, we have Emily. Emily uses a wheelchair and loves going out to eat, but has a hard time navigating crowded restaurants. And over here on the right, we have little Sarah. Sarah has epilepsy and can be hospitalized or have seizures if exposed to bright or flashing lights. What's the one thing Drake, Sarah, and Emily all have in common? They all need a solution to make their life easier as well as their caregivers. I'm Noah.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Nicole. And I'm Maddie.
And we are
Safe Roam. Safe Roam is an app that will focus on displaying the light levels, noise levels, and mobility access of businesses, as well as any other unique hazards to the business. By displaying this information to our customers, we're providing them the means necessary to avoid potentially stressful and dangerous environments.
Shown here is a prototype on our app. And on the left, you'll see our home screen, which you can search for a certain destination, or you can search based on certain categories. Once you find your desired location, you will see the right screen, and it will give you a description of the location, an overall accessibility review, customer reviews, as well as any special information on special events.
So, Maddie, what makes our app different?
Our platform emphasizes rating and reviewing key sensory features such as light sensitivity, noise levels, and mobility. Each location is located on its rating factor for each person that is in need of sensory issues or a disability.
Unlike existing business review apps such as Yelp and Foursquare, our team is focused on providing relief to those with sensory issues. With our emphasis on safety as well as sensory disabilities, we separate ourselves from our competition, and we are providing the first crowdsourced rating and review platform to advance the world of accessibility.
So for the user, Safe Roam will be a free download followed by a 1-week free trial, and then after that will be a minimal access fee of $4.99. We found that this would eliminate the financial commitment of a monthly subscription model that a lot of service-based apps run on.
As mentioned before, our target market is located in the city of Charleston. As we grow and expand, we plan to take it to other cities in South Carolina and plan to grow as a national presence. Because it's not just a local problem, and in fact, disabilities account for the fastest growing minority in the world.
Let's start a movement and create a world that is both sensory friendly and accessible, because
Accessibility is inspiration.
Thank you, and we look forward to your comments.
Stuart, would you like to start?
Sure. Well done. Very good. Couple of things. You haven't told me if you've done a survey and how many respondents and who to, right? And I'd like to get some sort of proof of concept from market feedback if you have that, right? The second thing is, I really do believe that you need to build into this the fact that you can show, whether through an icon or something, that the businesses that pop up on your phone have staff that are trained in dealing with people with sentinel. Now there is an organization that does this. I'm not making this up. You can go and Google it, right? And they certify people as being trained in or having the ability to deal with people with sensory issues, right? And I think that that would be really important, because people would feel much safer going to a business where they know their staff know how to handle something if something goes wrong. I think this is great. I like the simplicity of the slides. I would like to see you all emphasize your keywords more, right? So when you come to a keyword, step forward as you're saying, it's almost as if you're offering that word to your judges, right, into the room. Right now it's sort of monotone, and you're not putting emphasis on the keywords. But outside of that, I thought it was great. Thank you.
Sure. Those are good thoughts. I agree with most all of them. I really thought if the presentation was a 5 last week, it was a 10 today. You guys made solid improvement. I really liked the layout. The one thing that sticks out at me, in addition to some of those thoughts, would just be the revenue model. You know, $5 one time to be awful hard to make enough money to keep it sustained and going. So I would continue to just noodle on that revenue model, and maybe it's, you know, maybe there are other elements than just a fee or or call it a monthly fee. I don't know what they are, but I'd keep kind of working on that. But really good.
Vishal, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just to add on to the revenue model, as he was saying that, a thought came, maybe you can have kind of program like for the first 1,000 people, we're giving it at this rate, and maybe that will build the motion, the movement. But in general, amazing concept. I really like the idea, and I've firsthand seen the necessity for it. You know, I would think that another aspect that you could possibly focus on is get with a community of the people who are going to use that, and try to get some leverage from them, whether it's just a thumbs up or whether it's to collaborate in some way with them. That might give you leverage into getting into the community.
Thank you.
Michael?
I have a 15-year-old nephew with autism, so I can really relate to it. I think they addressed really a lot of the issues, but I really could see this work. I know my family really is something they would be into, so it's really cool.
Great job. Thanks
Well
so
done.
much.
Big improvement. That's a big improvement on last week.
Two thumbs up.
Is this the future city of Charleston? I'm sure if we walk down King Street, we have seen this at some point, boarded up small business stores. And this takes away from the quaintness that makes Charleston so unique and why it drew us to live here.
So the biggest problem is that a lot of our money is being extracted from our local economy by corporations that have no presence in Charleston, which in turn is making our unique character diminish.
So our solution is Local Saves, which is an app that is going to be dedicated towards helping small businesses in our local economy. So we have business spotlights every month, which focuses on CFC owned and operated alumni stores. And they also get to choose a nonprofit that they also want to showcase that is still locally owned. And then you'll be able to share the information about them and then scan your receipts. And once you scan your receipts, then you'll be able to redeem your points, and you can trade these in for incentives, similar to the Chick-fil-A app, but these incentives still stay within our local community, such as a gift card to Brown Dog Deli or half off a $10 Candlefish. And this is up to the individual store as its own. And then we have our little profile page, and you can connect with friends and everything else.
So what makes us different is that number one, we stay local. So we are here to preserve Charleston's unique history, heritage, and craftsmanship. Number two, we are focused on CFC alumni as well because we know how difficult it is to start your own business, especially when you're fresh out of college. And number three, we encourage city exploration as our app would help users make expenses a smaller obstacle in enjoying Charleston.
In our business model, we're going to stick with a commission model as of right now, and we've researched that small businesses typically spend between $9,000 and $10,000 on advertising. So if we kind of went into this fund and charged a 3 to 5% commission, this allows us to make anywhere between $500 and $800 just per business per month. So if we have multiple businesses throughout the month, then we will be able to gain revenue.
And in terms of our customer, we are focusing on college students at first, since we know that there is more of a motivation to save money in that demographic, but we are aiming to expand towards the greater Charleston, since helping our community needs everyone's help.
And then our competition are mainly the Get Upside app and Honey, but even though the Get Upside app uses a similar model where you scan receipts, they tend to focus on big brand name stores, and the incentives are still like with Target or Walmart, something that's not going back to fuel our local economy. And then Honey is mainly just an in-web browser that searches for local discounts, or not local discounts, but just local, or oh my god, discounts within different big name brands. But we're locally focused in nonprofit spotlights, which makes us unique.
So in terms of our status, we are in contact with a few of our local businesses, which are shown above, and we are currently collaborating with them to make our app a reality. And these are just a few of them, and tomorrow we're also going to be in a Zoom meeting with several of them, and Darby's also going today to several stores and talking to them in person.
And I'm Darby.
And I'm Evan.
And the main reason we wanted to show this, and it's such a big issue, is coming from CFC alumni parents, and then also in a small town where we mainly focus on small businesses to fuel our local economy. We wanted to bring that same atmosphere to the city of Charleston.
If you want any more details, feel free to scan the QR code and visit our website. And remember, if you don't join local today, there will be no local tomorrow. Thank you.
Well done. I mean, your presentation every week is really good. I didn't think it could get much better, but it did. So well done. Just be careful you don't stumble up on your words towards the end. I think it's the first mistake you've made in weeks. But look, you know we have something on our incubator that's very similar to this. And you know, Vishal is here today looking at this, and you guys need to speak to him after the class, right? But this is something that every community in the country is going to need, this or something very similar to it. And I think you need to get that across, right? I think right now it's a little colloquial, which is fine, right? Because you've got to start small. But I think if you just get into your presentation that every community is going to need this. So really meaning once you've got your proof of concept in Charleston, you can scale it, right? I spend a bit more time on that. Other than that, I really don't have any other comments.
Yeah, I agree, you're both great presenters. One thing I would think is, when you do your funnel and say, hey, you're spending $9,000 to $10,000 a month on advertising, when you meet with the businesses and you had some names listed, I would talk to them about what's working in the $9,000 to $10,000 and show that your $500 to $800 that you're gonna extract from them is actually saving them money versus taking 5 to 8% out of their pocket. So I think there's a way to weave that in your conversations, but hey, you're spending 10 grand, now you're gonna spend 10, or you can spend 8, pay us 500, 600, and we're gonna drive flow. So continue to look for ways to help the businesses understand that you can drive flow to them, and net they actually aren't spending more money, because a lot of them are sensitive to going out of business. So spending more money is not something they wanna be doing, and giving you a small cut of it needs to come from somewhere. So I would weave that in.
Vishal?
Amazing concept, and I really think there's enough people in the community or in this that are gonna want the same thing, so you've got, you know, really a lot of people behind you. When you were explaining, I think it was the third slide or something like that, when you were explaining the whole process flow of how it works from step to step, it was a bit difficult for me to follow it, and I guess being the first time I've heard it, so maybe a bit of time between the different steps, so that someone can process that step before moving to the next. Aside from that, maybe.
Again, these guys always ask great questions. One thing that stood out to me is, in doing any of these things, how do you reach people and differentiate yourself? I know you guys are thinking about that. That's what I always wonder in trying to do an app or anything. It just seems there's so many today. And I love the concept because it did differentiate. And then one of the questions that made me ask was, is your main focus to attract customers or businesses? I know it's both.
Yeah, as of right now, we're focusing on getting the businesses, but I think once we get those, it's like we're tailoring towards the customer in the city of Charleston in general.
Awesome. Those are the questions that I had from it.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
That was great.
So what if I told you that you could express yourself without saying a word? All of us express ourselves in different ways through what we do, what we choose to learn, but also our unique styles.
73% of Gen Z believes they need more self-expression to live a happy and healthy lifestyle. For our generation, this also includes activism. We're here to make that reality fun and affordable.
Hi, we are Flip Rings, a reversible silicone ring company that allows you to express yourself through our product. From happy to sad, thriving to surviving, even drunk to hungover, moods change quickly, but so do Flip Rings. You simply just flip the ring to fit your vibe. So we built a strong community over Instagram where people send in photos just so they can be featured, and that's what our complete homepage is. And last year, we had our best year so far with over $500,000 in sales, selling over 30,000 rings, and we also, with our strong Instagram base, we have over 36,000 Instagram followers.
So what's the size of our market? The total addressable market is $14.1 billion. The serviceable addressable market is $633 million. And then based off last year's sales revenue, our serviceable obtainable market is 0.07%.
Okay, so our competitors have done well, they have great traction, and they have a pretty strong following, but they don't have exactly what we have, besides reversible rings and their unique designs. Our competitive advantage is that we provide a different customer segment than our competitors. So we have over 30 interns that work with us to interact with customers, get their opinions about what should be the next design, colorways, everything like that. And so we have built a strong customer relationship through our interactions on social media, and that means that we also have a customer-first approach to our product development.
So what is our business model? Currently, our gross profit margin is 30%. It costs us roughly $2 to make a ring, and then our selling and administrative costs are roughly $5 per ring, which brings our total cost of goods sold to $7, and our individual rings sell for $10. In addition, we sell 2 packs, 3 packs, 9 packs, and wholesale direct to retailers for $5 per ring.
So as for our team, I'm Nicole, this is Olivia and Billy, and this is our future for Flip Rings. So after allowing our customers to express themselves through our products, we now want to allow them to express the foundations that they support. So last month, we decided to create a packet of rings that represent the colors of Ukraine, where 100% of the proceeds go to the UN Refugee Agency. And after a very positive reaction from our followers, We are looking forward to expanding off of this.
So we conducted Instagram polls to learn about our customers' interests. The top 3 were breast cancer awareness, women in business, and mental health. As you can see here, we have some votes about what they thought about it. And so our next step is to launch these 3 rings. 10% of the profit from each ring will go to a similar foundation in support of these 3 causes. And it's time to let everyone think and also support out loud.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Just make sure you say 100% of net proceeds, right? Because 100% of proceeds means you're sending all the revenue, and that's probably not gonna be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, I think you should start the presentation with your historic slide. That's where I think you should start. I think some of the slides before it were, they were good, but I just think not hard hitting enough, right? You come out of the gate and say, we already have a business that has $500,000 in revenue, we're projecting $750 this year. This is what we do, and this is where our brand extension's going, right? It'll give you more time to talk about the back end of the presentation. So I would think through that, right? And you've got to remember, when you're speaking to an audience and judges, there might be a few judges, or there could be quite a lot of people in the audience that don't really care about activism. I'm just throwing that out there, right, as just a cautionary tale. So that's what I would do. I would start with that slide. It's a great slide. We have 500,000 in revenue. We're going to 750. Everything is great. This is what we do. This is where we're headed. And that's what I would do. Outside of that, very good.
I don't think you'll be surprised, but I loved where you went with it. I really did. I talked at length about that flow. I love it. I do like the idea of throwing the revenue slide right up front. I think one specific thing, and to Billy directly, when you do that TAM, SAM, or whatever, just relax a little. Just say, hey, the market's really, the jewelry market's this big, and this is what, and then we're focused here. We've got 0.7% already, and we're gonna grow. So relax as you walk through that slide. Don't be so mechanical. But I actually agree. I think starting with revenue and then leaving the flow exactly how it is exactly how I would do it if I were presenting it. I thought he nailed it. So I'd just keep doing it just like that.
Sure.
Amazing concept, and I think your key thing is that you already have a working model. Another thing I think is very important is what enhancements you're making for the future. So the last couple of slides, but yeah, overall they're really good.
Thank you.
You just reiterate what these guys said, that the idea that you have that much gross revenue now as an investor, that would be something I'd want to know immediately, because I just take the whole thing very different from there.
Okay, great job. Thank you.
Passion. Good stuff.
So who here would spend more time volunteering if they knew it would increase their chances of getting hired by 30%? This is Andrew. Andrew finds 4 hours of his busy week to put aside because he wants to volunteer. But he has trouble finding nonprofit organizations in his local communities that take his skills and his mindset seriously. But he hears of an app called Volunteer Navigator. He logs into Volunteer Navigator, creates his account, and connects with hundreds of nonprofit organizations in his local community. By next week, he's already volunteering.
So I can understand Andrew's frustration. His problem is he's got to search through multiple websites and try to verify which organizations are actually making an impact in the community. It's a shame because 3 out of 4 entering college students want to make an impact in their community, but oftentimes they don't have the time and they don't know where to get started. So he just wants to get a job. Employers are 82% more likely to choose a candidate with volunteer experience on their resume, and over 85% more likely to look over mistakes in your resume just based off this experience. This is just some of the competitors, like multiple websites, a lot of words and processes to go through to get signed up. And this is where Volunteer Navigator comes in. So after logging in, you go to your homepage, which you can track your volunteer progress, connect with the community, verify donations, and get suggested activities for points. Then you can go to the Discover page and search for volunteer events, get a list of top rated organizations that are local, and get some local events coming up. The events page, when you click on an event, gives you nice pictures and graphics of what the organizations are actually doing in the community, the type of volunteering, and the verification rating that we give them, as well as reviews of what other volunteers have rated this organization. And then another secret sauce is the leaderboard, so you can compete with different communities. So if you have a church event, or a church community, a school community, and then just like your greater local community, you can compare yourself with them, and this is your homepage to select your interests and get user settings.
So for our unique selling proposition, we have 3 special sauces. First is that you could compete with your friends or other volunteers that are volunteering, and you guys can earn points through our app, and you can see that on the leaderboard. And then second, we added a new feature, which is the donation verification report, which basically nonprofits have to be verified through us and earn basically like a blue check mark like you see on Instagram in order to start accepting donations. And they have to show the donators where their money's going and how much percentage they're taking from the money. And lastly, you can view the ratings of organizations and also reviews, and as well as message other people that have volunteered at the organizations. So for our monetization, we will be charging nonprofits $25 to $75 a month, depending on the size of the nonprofit. And then for companies and schools that want to partner with us, it would be $1 per student or $1 per employee.
So for our addressable market, this is the local Charleston market. So if we were to just get the top 200 nonprofits, this could amount in about $120,000 a year in revenue just from getting them a part of this. And then on top of the organizations and like schools that would want to get into this, there's more on top of that.
So we also have added a mission statement that 10% of the net profits per month will go to a nonprofit of our app users choosing. We feel like this is going to be a good way that the volunteers can kind of give back, so they'll be able to vote which they think, which nonprofit has done best that month.
So this is our team, myself, Cameron, Zach, and our mentor, Brian. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the unique selling proposition slide for a second, that one? This is what you need to start with. This needs to be right up front. There was too much ambiguity for me in the first part of the presentation. I think you need to expand on these 3 things, right? Especially the donor verification report. People are getting sick to death of getting called by the same fundraisers time in, time out. You have no idea where your money's going. You have no idea how much of it's being used for admin, awareness, et cetera, and people need a way to determine where they want to put their money, and I think you need to focus on this, right? You made a comment, it was a brilliant comment up front, that, you know, would you volunteer if you could have a 30% better chance of getting a job? But that was it. You didn't show us where that came from. There was no source. I mean, you need to, when you make statements like that, you need to validate, verify. Okay. Some of the slides too wordy for me, especially the ones where you had your, I don't know if it was a competition slide where you had pictures of different websites. At first, I was trying to read that one.
Yeah.
So clean that up a little bit. But look, I think you guys are onto something with this, right? The not-for-profit industry is at a strategic inflection point. They are like the fax machine manufacturers in 1995. And if they don't change, 50% of them are going to go out of business, right? So lever that in what you're doing. Okay, thanks.
Totally agree. We made a note here, share the data, not the question. And if in fact 80% of people get more hired, you shared a data point last week. You don't need to ask the question, you share the data. Hey, you're 30% more likely to get hired, and here's how we know that, or you're 80%. I will add to that for all of you. Don't make mistakes on your resume. You said if, that's inexcusable. Make mistakes on your resume, you don't get hired. It's kind of that easy. I've thought you could be a nonprofit, perhaps. You could end up starting this as a nonprofit for nonprofits. It doesn't have to always be about endgame. You can still make money as a nonprofit, but it might be interesting to think about that angle. And then lastly, for both of you, as you present, get used to and practice it. Practice in your mirror, whatever. Look at the slides, not your notes. You're looking at the computer, you're looking at your notes. Get comfortable looking back and forth in your audience and telling them what they're seeing versus looking there. I think that would help. But today's been a great day. I mean, all of you have really just kind of stepped it up and nailed it. It's been fun to watch.
Really amazing concept and nicely thought out. I thought one of the key points, aside from stressing the first slide, which was so important because it touches right at home, you know. That's the people you're looking for. But there was another place where you mentioned the percentage that the nonprofits spend on their costs versus how much they give to the cause. I think that's another place when maybe you want to expand on, because that would matter a lot to the person who's actually putting those hours in to commit to that.
Thank you.
It really is, if you could get it just a little simpler, kind of what Stuart was saying, it was what you do is so important, and if you could just a little more quickly say who's going to benefit, how they're going to benefit, and why you should care, that way you have time to really focus on the solution you're offering.
Okay, great job. Thank you, guys.
So how many of you today still use those mini shampoo and conditioner bottles that's in hotel rooms? Well, today is the day to do away with those. Square up to pollution with Square Essentials. The problem is today that more than 5 million shampoo and conditioner bottles end up in landfills every year. Today, we have a solution presented to you today.
Our solution is Square Essentials, a sustainably packaged hotel conditioner, shampoo, and body wash to help stop all of that 500 million tons of pollution that end up in landfills.
So our actual packaging itself is going to be 100% recycled cardboard opposed to more of a bleached cardboard that is bad for the environment. And then the actual content inside the products is going to be no sulfates, no parabens, no alcohol, and we are also looking at natural fragrances such as coconut that will make the hair hydrated and also good for the environment.
So our main competitor obviously here is what is already in the place that we're trying to get into, these unsustainable plastic shampoo and conditioner bottles that you see in your hotels that we all love to take home. However, our step above them is the level of sustainability. We already know a couple hotels in Charleston that we've talked to that focus big on sustainability. They're interested in this. And some people have started trying to do solutions like just making the bottles bigger, but that doesn't really solve the problem. And so our sustainable solution will completely solve this problem. And since we are using recycled cardboard instead of a bleached cardboard, it is cheaper, so we're hoping that we can keep the price point similar to them in order to compete. And then monetization-wise, as I mentioned, there are some hotels in Charleston that we've already talked to, the Mills Hotel or the Mills House. They're really focused on sustainability. They care a lot about the environment and stuff like that, so we know there's a market for us. So our goal would be to start selling our products to local hotels in the Charleston area, eventually expand to the South Carolina, go through the state, and then hopefully work our way up to getting a deal with either Hilton or Marriott, one of those big national hotel chains, to really keep the hotel business more sustainable.
Through
through effective networking, I was able to talk to associate brand manager of Suave, which is a beauty and wellness company selling anything from shampoo, lotions, deodorant, and conditioner. So that is Colleen Green up there. I talked to her around 2 weeks ago. She gave us a lot of helpful tips. So I recently, last weekend, reached back out to her to let her know what we are currently doing, such as our confirmed packaging that we're doing and our confirmed inside of the products that we're doing. So she loves it, and she just said she's another door in the future that we can step our foot into. So that's where we're headed in the future. And then I also talked to Francis Marion Hotel, the executive housekeeper there. She loved our idea as well, said it's a huge issue. She can't tell that if people use the products or not, so they're forced to throw them away. They're not allowed to recycle them and put them in other rooms. So that is what we are currently doing locally now.
And our team consists of myself, Rebecca, Demetria, Evan, and Jacqueline.
And our mentor, Corey, who has been super duper helpful throughout the whole process.
And we are here to square up to pollution, so square up to pollution with Square Essentials.
Thank you.
Great presentation. A couple of glaring omissions. The first one is, as much as people want to be sustainable, there's also something called a bottom line. And I think you're going to need to show the judges how you compare in price to the existing option that hotels have, right? That's the biggest thing that's really missing. I like the way you've now incorporated what's going in the bottles. That's great. But giving the judges, and if I was a potential investor, that's the first question I'd be asking, because I love the brand, I love the actual brand itself, I love what you're doing. My first question would be, what's the price point like compared to what the hotels are already paying, right? I think you need to do some homework on that and get that in there before demo day. Outside of that, really good, well done.
I 100% agree. I love idea, great presentations, next steps, what is really happening next. And you guys kind of are like an advertisement for mood clothes a little bit. Demetria's hat, and that's a show that, you know, self-expression does matter. But I totally agree 100% with what Stuart's saying. I sit here, I like you guys, I like what you're saying, and I walk away every time with like, next steps. How do we get to the next step?
Thank you.
Fantastic idea and presentation. I agree with Stuart, those statistics on the price difference. That even though we don't want to always admit it, I think price plays that bigger an impact on the bottom line. So, but aside from that, really good idea, concept.
Same thing, really. And one is, I don't know if you have those figures, but if you could save them money also, then you've got a serious winner. And I think people are willing to pay more, you know, for the environment and things, especially if it's a nominal cost. So that would be so important to know if I was going to invest in it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay, great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Come up.
About 2 years ago, I was in a really bad surfing accident and I almost died. I got my femoral artery cut. But after that, I had a lot of PTSD from the accident and still kind of do. But one of the things that they did in the hospital, they had a therapy dog come in, and like immediately, it just helped me so much. That was only once, but immediately I just felt the benefits of it. So up here is on the right is a CT scan of someone with PTSD versus someone who doesn't have PTSD. And this area right here is the hippocampus, and the one on the right, the volume is way less and a lot less white matter in your brain, which are effects of having PTSD, which is not permanent, but it like physically affects your brain.
The problem. So 1 in 5 Americans have a mental illness of some kind, anywhere from like depression, anxiety to more serious ones like schizophrenia. And then the dog aspect, a lot of people can't have dogs because of housing restrictions or from surveying people, they said that the biggest reason they don't have a dog is because of the time and responsibility. The solution, so it's a dog rental app. Dog owners can rent their dog out for a price, and then non-dog owners can rent a dog of their choice. You'll see when I show the prototype, but there are going to be different kinds of dogs, and then there are dogs as well. And then my tagline is friendships beyond mankind.
I think it's on PowerPoint.
Did it on my computer.
You could try downloading
Yeah.
it once.
Sorry. Okay, so this is the prototype of the app. So you sign in. And then you allow your location to be used because you'll be able to see every time. And then you choose the kind of dog you want, and they'll bunch of the little cross-star therapy dogs. And then you choose the time and date and how long you want your session to be. And then you get the confirmation and where you're going to be. And then once you get confirmed, you can be in contact with the dog owner. And then there's also a rating system after by the number of paws instead of stars. And then you can also add a tip if you want to. So the secret sauce is like a 3-way benefit. It benefits the dog owner, and the dog renter. The renter, better mental health, they get to play with the dog gets exercise, and then the dog owner gets paid and has someone walk their dog or play with their dog. So the revenue plan, we make money by the 20% booking fee, and then for events, it'll be more expensive. And then repeat bookings, it's not like you just do it once and never use it again, because next time maybe you want like a golden retriever versus like a lab. This part I was a little confused about, but it's a big market, and there are 471 million dog owners worldwide, and in the US 69 million, and then in South Carolina about 2 million. And then the average revenue per hour per session that we would make would be about $450, because therapy dogs are going to be more expensive. So I applied for an LLC yesterday, and I'm waiting for that. And then contacts, I haven't contacted all of them yet, but MUSC, Rover, and then I'm also going to contact like retirement homes and local dog parks. We'll like talk to people at local dog parks. And the team, myself, and then just some partners for the app, Stripe for payment, and then Sterling for the background checks. And that's it.
I think it's very brave to do this on your own. You need a lot of help before demo day. I'm just being brutally honest. I actually think this is a great idea, by the way, and I think it's an idea that can work for two reasons. Number one is there are obviously people who need to have the benefit of interacting with an emotional service dog or a dog in general, but not only can they not have a dog because of housing requirements, but they can't afford a dog, all right? On the other hand, there are a lot of people that have dogs that work and are currently paying someone to go in and walk the dog. So you could be turning an expense into an income opportunity, and I think that that needs to come across a bit louder. Here's my concern. At the very end, you mentioned verifying, right?
Yes.
So my daughter has a very, very expensive French Bulldog, and she would not let that dog go to anyone to play with unless that person's been verified. The other problem you're going to have is if that dog gets stolen, you're going to have a big lawsuit, your company. So you're going to have to look into indemnity insurance.
Yes, their identity insurance.
Yeah, indemnity insurance, because you're going to get sued 6 ways to Sunday if someone's dog comes back dead or never comes back at all. And by the way, those insurance premiums at times can be so expensive that it just negates the whole part of doing the business. So you need to look into that. I am happy to sit with you before demo day and go through this with you to tighten it up if that's what you want. I'm sure some other people will as well. Okay, thank you.
I agree 100%. I was going to say you need a ton of help. This is a great idea. And I think you're going to nail demo day, but you have a lot of work because this is a good idea. But I might start with the tagline. Your personal story is a good one, but I wasn't sure you were telling me what you were going to tell me until you said my idea is about dogs. So I would say, hey, friendships beyond mankind, dogs as partners, they can be shared. This is good for your dog. And then just kind of clean up the whole message. And then you've got a great story. And I actually think you are a good presenter. I really do. I think you've got good presentation skills. I think you've got a good idea, but it's just not put together yet. So Stuart's absolutely right. I'm happy to give you my number as well, but if you could clean it up, I think you're onto something.
I agree with the part where in the order of things, you've got all the content there, and starting off with a high positive, I mean with that clarity gives a person that attention, and then when you come to your story, they know the context of which to apply that in. Also, just a small thing I picked up when you talked about someone's preference. You said lab, and then next time they'll go for a great golden retriever. Maybe just adding a sentence like, "Oh, maybe you learn that you like labs," and that's for you. It kind of touches home and kind of gives that long-term kind of effect, as opposed to just a one-off. Great.
That's a good idea, thank you.
The only question I had with it is there anybody else currently attempting this kind of thing? You didn't have anything about competition, and it seems like a kind of a no-brainer that somebody would try to do this. So.
I saw a couple, like one was in the UK, but that was in like 2015, and they never really did anything with it. So that was the only thing I found.
It's very, like Stuart saying, different than Ubering your car out or your Airbnb. This is very, very personal to people. So yeah, it's really cool.
Well done.
Awesome. Well done. Okay, everybody, spend your money. Spend your money. Give me the money and everything like that. Thank you, sir.
Good stuff.
He said he's really not impressive.
I told you.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He will start. So what you do is you take your 100, right? You've got to allocate it for 3 teams.
I went to IU.
Hey, I'm Mike, by the way.
Jeff brings me up.
Good.
Kelly School of Business.
That was the Kelly School of Business?
Yeah.
So we're bringing this up to the Miller College of Business at Wall State.
That's what I was saying. I'd love to even make my way up there.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from New Jersey. I'm a transient kid. Lived all over. I lived in Denver for the last 20 years, working for a couple of Wall Street firms. And then I moved here about a year and a half ago. Now I'm trying to figure out where to spend my time.
How'd you meet Stuart?
Actually, teaches history here. He's a Yale PhD, and he, similar to me, just
What's that?
That's how we met.
Oh, yeah.
So I got involved with him. I had also expressed something maybe I would teach something. Yeah, thank you, sir. How about you?
It's a great story, Stuart. I love teaching.
I'll reach out.
Please do. I got asked to record the podcast with Stuart. I was just a camera guy. And Stuart did his whole pitch. He hadn't started this class. He just ran his whole idea. It was so grandiose. When he left, when we tell the story where we go, I told my buddy, do you know Ian Sanchez?
I met Ian here, I believe.
So Ian, Ian's the guy that had me come. I know Ian.
Okay.
So I asked him, I think that guy is a great idea.
I met Ian here.
And I said, no one's ever going to do that. He said, he doesn't even know anybody at the college or in Charleston. And then 2 years later, he started teaching this class. And so I was an intern working for him. And I said, hey, this guy's teaching this class at college. I really think it would help you because we can kind of relate more in business terms.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Where are you from?
Indiana. And so
I just went there for school. And I had my daughter went there, her fiance went there. Yeah, I worked for the dean of the business school. And so I had thought about becoming once I kind of got to the point where I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I just kind of moved here and tried to get involved in the school.
So we're taking it to Muncie. We just got the mayor signed on, and there's a training coming up in May. And we met with the school of business there at Wall State. They were really excited about it. And so then the idea is to get the incubator started. So I'm going to look at what's your market. It's kind of like based on stuff I want to hear.
All right.
We got our final results. So before we get to our final results, let's get some final comments from the judges. So Stuart, your final comment.
Yeah, so one comment for all of you would be just, a lot of you are forgetting to add which SDG you're focused on in your presentation. Right, so you need to build that into your slides up in the corner so people can see the SDG that you're focused on. So that would be the main one. Okay, you're all...
Can I interrupt? So I know you guys are all super smart, but I do not know, if you're not taking notes, how you can take all this stuff down. So I'd like to see pens, papers, or things.
You're all pretty close to really being ready for demo day. I think you got great comments from everyone. This is the closest in terms of my judging how I had to allocate my money. I mean, before it was pretty easy for me. Today was really close. So what that tells me is that those of you who needed to step it up have actually done it, right? And I could not pick a clear winner, really, if the demo day was tomorrow. So I think it's going to come down, I've said this before, to your presentation skills. And all I can tell you is you need to practice in front of your friends, in front of your parents. The best presentation right now are these guys, Evan. That's the best presentation. Not suggesting it's the best innovation, but it's the best presentation, right? So those are the gold standard, those guys, those two, and that's who you've got to catch up in terms of passion, clarity, etc., etc. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I totally agree, Stuart. And really, it's kind of like, this is your one shot and your one opportunity. You just don't know who you're going to be sitting in front of. Don't leave details uncovered. Really spend the next 2 weeks practicing. Get in front of your mirror and get answers to these questions. There's already a group in here that's got a viable business. They are making money. And that's what a lot of investors think about. They care a lot about a lot of things, but money matters too. You got to be able to afford running the businesses for them to be impactful. So this is really your one shot. You just don't know who's going to be in the room. Don't leave any stone unturned. Get your presentation nailed. Get all the thinking out of your head, and then just nail it on game day. I'm the same. I could barely leave one of the teams off my list today when I did. I thought, man, could I just have one more team to give a little money to? But I couldn't. So you gotta really realize the competition's stiff, and this is your chance.
Great, Vishal?
All amazing ideas. What I would suggest is that as you're practicing, just to fine tune this so that you're not reading off anything and you're actually making eye-to-eye contact, is also practice in front of people you haven't practiced before. Because the people that you constantly practice, they know the content, and so if you're saying something which is not very understandable, they'll still pick it. But a new person might think, hey, hold on, what do you mean by this? Or you said that too fast, or you didn't say that loud enough. So try to get some new people involved as you're doing your practice session.
Yeah, I mean, the CEO of Apple's worth $1 billion. They make him role play before Investor Day. Mm-hmm. He has to sit in front of other employees and go over it and over it and over it because he's got to go talk to investors. So practice is your friend no matter how well you think you know it.
Tim Apple?
Tim Apple. Tim Apple, as Trump likes to call him.
Yeah, what these guys said really I thought nailed it. And one thing I took from the community class from Stuart is that investors bet on the jockey, not the horse. And so as you're trying to, like they said, really make eye contact and do all that, making people believe that you can pull off this idea, because all the ideas are so great that people want to believe that, okay, if I put my money here, I think this person can get where they're saying they're going.
Okay, so first of all, thank all four of them for and I think you got some great feedback. So I thought I'd save my feedback to them today. So here are 5 pieces of feedback that I would provide to you guys. Number one is, we teach you TAM, SAM, SUM, but nobody out there knows what that means, okay? So what I liked was one group, they sat there and they build up from below, and then they say, for example, if you take dogs, there are 69 million dogs in the USA. That tells you how big the market can be. Okay, so build up from below, but don't use jargon, because people will not understand jargon, so really be careful of that. But you need to know the jargon for yourselves to be able to build up from below, but all great presentations build up from below. They don't build up their 69 million dogs, so I know if I get 1% of them. Okay, which you did not do. So thankfully. Okay, that's number one. Number 2, data, guys. So you've done surveys, okay? Nowhere along the line practically did I see results of surveys and things like that. So I need to see some sort of data. There's a lot of, I talked to this guy or I talked to this girl, but give us some quantitative data. So for example, if you've done $500 million, I think everybody told you, tell us straight away at $500,000, it will be $500 million. But tell us straight away, give us the data, okay, the data, and make sure that if you're doing data sources or anything like that, that you say who the source of the data is. If 39% of all people love X, Y, Z, or 30% don't like, if you're gonna get a job 30% better with navigation and volunteers, give us the source. You don't have to tell us by so-and-so, but just put the source up on the slide. Okay, really critical because it gives validation to what you're talking about. The next thing is, some of you have some great taglines. Some of you have taglines, but somebody also, without mentioning any group, they just go, thank you. That's like giving a wet handshake to a girlfriend on a date. Goodbye. That was good night. Right? Kiss them. Give them passion. Tell us your tagline. Okay. I mean, if you want to get another date, you got to give passion. Okay. Another little tiny thing is size of fonts. Okay. What I think you got from the judges back there is simplify your presentation. So for example, some of you have some great apps up there, okay? But there's so much on the apps that certainly I couldn't read any of the stuff, or anybody else. So really simplify and make it very, very clean on the apps. I would also recommend, unless you have a solidly good reason not, okay? I would always recommend you use a white background rather than purple or pink and things like that. It fades out terribly when you get up to the Wells Fargo room. Okay, I caution you on that. And even when you're showing the black apps or whatever, what you'll find is you always have this little cutout where you cut it out from white, and that all disappears in the background, so it looks like the app is real. So I would really encourage everybody, unless you have a specific goal for not doing a white background, I would always use a white background. I think very few of you guys did. Okay, it just allows the pictures or words to stand out and everything like that, particularly if you're cutting and pasting from another website. And last but not least, and I think you got this from the judges, is if they are all for investing in you, what are they looking for? They're looking for two things. One, which Stuart has talked out with today, started with his SDGs. What's the other thing they're looking for? Money. Okay, I'm not going to invest in you without money. So be really clear on what your profit model is. Being very succinct, very clear, and everything like that. But overall, the one great thing is, here we got 6 projects here today, and I think there is 6 as good as anything we've had from Impact X over all the years. So let's give a hand a big clap. So our winners today. So we have a virtual tie in 4th place between Flip Rings and Volunteer Navigator. So you both are in 4th place. In 3rd place with $180,000 is Square Essentials. So let's give Square Essentials a big hand. And with Square Essentials, I'd love to see you just put a little bit more passion, you know, it's hip to be square, something like that, just to really get things in fun.
I did like the square up too, please.
Square up too.
You gotta know it.
Yeah,
I can square up the
I had to say, I do think Dimitri had the best start of anybody here today.
Sounds good.
Okay, so in 2nd place, Local Saves with $210,000. My big comment with you guys would be just simplify and slow down a little bit, okay? Sometimes it's so much, Darby, you have so much enthusiasm, it's like a machine gun, okay? So just think about slowing that down. Okay, you both have great presentation skills, but you might just want to emphasize. Okay? And today, with 1st place with $360,000, was Safe Room. Overall, you guys are doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing and the one comment, final comment was Jeff sat there and said to me today, he said, I can't believe how much these teams keep improving. And so just keep doing what you're doing, okay? We will, as everybody knows, demo day. What day is demo day? Dimitri? 5:30 to 7, 5:30 to 6:30, 7 o'clock. So it's going to be good. It's exciting. Woo! Guys.
Yeah, baby.